and they were told that Joy didn't make it. I'm sorry.
In this phone call, there's a call where you said, who hasn't threatened to stab their boyfriend? Do you remember?
Yes.
After you knew that he was stabbed to death, right?
Yes.
And this was funny to you because you laughed, right?
Yes.
We are counting down to the closings. The kiss and kill murder trial for defendant Samantha Krebs resumes in an hour, and we're taking you live inside of that Wisconsin courtroom. Plus, a massive manhunt is underway right now for Charlie Kirk's killer. We'll share with you the brand new developments that are trickling in this morning. And what we know about Wendy Adelson's life right now. We're breaking down the rumors that have been swirling around online. And also this hour, we're seeing a different side to Killer Kohberger. His selfies now being released to the public. So we're asking, what was he thinking? It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Thursday morning to you, and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. We have a great show planned for you, so let's get it started as we always do. Go ahead and grab that cup of coffee or tea, or if you're across the pond, it's lunchtime, whatever you're having, it is time for my opening statement. There is nothing more un-American than what happened to Charlie Kirk. A proud patriot, a husband, and a father of two beautiful young children, assassinated while exercising his American freedoms, practicing his freedom of speech in a place that fosters the free expression of ideas. And yet, the 31-year-old leader had his life unlawfully taken away. I am sickened, I am saddened, and I am mad as hell. There is no place for political violence in America. Whether you agree with his politics or not is irrelevant. As Americans, we should all agree that every American citizen has the right to speak their mind on American soil and not be murdered. This is the land of the free. And as a human being, Charlie Kirk had the right to speak freely without being killed. Americans with differing political beliefs should be able to come together, exchange ideas, and have a spirited debate for the betterment of the country that we all love. May God bless and comfort Charlie Kirk's beautiful wife and children. May he rest in peace. And may the person who assassinated him be brought to justice and receive the harshest penalty that the law allows. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your top story.
Is there any way that you would think
somebody tried to kill my ex-husband? They should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Regardless of who it is.
I mean, it would be different if I thought it were my brother, but I don't think it was my family.
Family had your ex-husband killed to try to help you, didn't they?
No, that's completely untrue.
And you testified on direct that anybody in your family that had anything to do with it should be held responsible. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And that includes you, doesn't it?
Anyone who's responsible.
So now, let's talk about Wendy Adelson, shall we? What is Wendy's life like right now? Have you been thinking about this? Because we have here on Opening Statements. So she's the daughter of now convicted killer Donna Adelson, and she is top of mind for many people, perhaps for investigators, perhaps for prosecutors. Will she be charged next is the burning question. And there have been lots of rumors swirling around the true crime community about what she's doing now. On Opening Statements Wednesday, if you saw the show yesterday, you remember former Florida State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg coming on the program and saying this about what Wendy is up to.
I'm hearing out there on the internet that she's already talked to her boyfriend in Texas about adopting the children. Charlie spoke about that actually in a recorded call with a media person behind bars. And if that was legitimate, what I heard on the internet, then she's expecting it. I mean, Wendy is no dummy.
So Wendy's allegedly having talks to have her kids adopted by her current boyfriend. The other rumor is that her current boyfriend is George Estrada. Now, we have a photo of the two of them together. You may say he's not the typical type she goes for. Some of you were saying how much you thought Jeffrey Lacasse looked like Danny Markel. Jeffrey Lacasse being her boyfriend at the time that her ex-husband, Danny Markel, was murdered. So question, is Wendy trying to keep the kids away from the Markels? Does this move mean anything? Let's talk about it. Let's bring in high-profile criminal defense attorney and civil rights attorney John Phillips and high-profile family law attorney and law professor Randy Kessler. Great to see you both this morning. So what do you think about these rumors about Wendy? John, would you kick off our conversation, please?
Here we go with another chapter. So, yeah, I mean, I'll defer to the family law experts to get into the weeds here, but you know, as somebody whose firm does divorce, high-end divorce as well, this is kind of where things pivot, right? You've had this family drama, you've had this murder, and now what happens? And the domino effect certainly is headed right towards Wendy.
I think so too, John. Randy Kessler, tell us what you think about Ms. Wendy Adelson.
So from the family law perspective, it's completely different than the criminal law perspective, right? Criminal law is about, did they do it? Can you meet your burden? You know, they probably are thinking, well, the jury convicted Donna pretty quickly. They convicted Charlie. It's probably not as hard a prosecution as they might have thought it was a few years ago. So maybe they're going to go forward on the prosecution side. On the family law side, you know what the focus is. What's in the children's best interest? And there's a balance there. Is it in the children's best interest? They've lost their father. They've lost their uncle. They've lost their grandma. Maybe they're going to lose their mom, you know, so there's some interesting dynamics going on here. I don't know how it's going to play out, but these poor children, you know, that's the worst of all.
You're so right, Randy. I want to ask you more questions about the kids, please. I have a clip, and this is when Dave Ehrenberg was on the show yesterday. We asked him about the Markels, Phil and Ruth, Danny Markel's parents, the boys' grandparents, and whether or not they've seen the kids. Let's listen to Dave's answer.
They have seen them. In fact, Florida passed a law because of this case to give grandparents rights, although it doesn't directly apply to this case until Wendy is indicted and convicted. So it's crazy stuff. But the Markels have seen the grandkids. The problem is that the poor grandkids have had their minds poisoned against the grandparents for some time. So it's taking a while to warm up again.
Randy, I keep thinking, let's just say for the sake of our analysis with you this morning that this rumor about Wendy trying to get her boyfriend to adopt the kids is true. What rights, if any, do Phil and Ruth Markel have to try to adopt those kids or have the kids be part of their family?
Oh, what a wicked web we weave, right? This is such a mess legally. And what the prosecutor was saying there, if Wendy is no longer available to the children and her husband, the father of the children, is dead, then grandparents have rights. But as long as one parent is there, then that parent has the rights. Now, if the adoption goes through, they're sort of severing the rights of Dan. They're saying this is the new father. And so his parents and his become the grandparents. And the Markels are legal strangers to the children. I cannot imagine the situation unfolding the way it is. You know, the nice thing about divorce law and family law is that they are courts of equity. So we get to do things that are not normal. We get to do equity and justice. And what I've always heard judges say is at the end of the day, in a family law case, they want to ask themselves, did we do justice? Did we do what's right? Not did we follow the law, not did we, you know, follow all of our burdens, but did we do the right thing? So hopefully, if this ends up in a court for family law, you get a good judge who says, I'm going to find a way to fashion a relationship between these grandparents who the children need and the grandparents need the relationship.
Yes, Randy, we hope and pray for that. John Phillips, let's continue further with this analysis. Just for the sake of our discussion today, let's say that Wendy is trying to move forward with adopting the kids, and let's say that there are recorded conversations regarding that. I haven't heard them. Dave Ehrenberg made reference to Charlie Adelson apparently speaking on a jail call. John, tell me, in criminal court, do you see these prosecutors perhaps using those moves of Wendy's to show any consciousness of guilt?
They could. You know, the main word there was setting up the parental alienation and grandparent alienation, which, as we just heard the term mastermind and manipulation and manipulator used over and over again. And that's kind of how the spider web will weave together, that there's on one hand alienation where if it's not Adelson, it's not good. And then on the other hand, you're adding the kind of step family in as a replacement for the Markel family. And so it's a double-pronged attack. And, the motive there, as the prosecutors would say, it is all about kind of the big picture here of getting rid of the Markels overall, including, via murder.
Right, exactly, John. And we know these are lovely people. Phil and Ruth Markel. Ruth has been on the program before, and after the verdict, she did speak to the cameras for a short time about how they had to work to change the law in Florida to try to allow for the grandparent visitation because of what the Adelsons were doing and trying to keep these kids completely and entirely away from them. Let's take a listen to some of what she shared.
We have had access because of the Markel Act. So as it was passed, it opened up. Wendy had invited us to the bar mitzvah. So we had a little bit of an opportunity to have communications and some visits, but they're highly choreographed. It's not a natural process. We are looking for when we can communicate via email, via phone. We have everything is done still through Wendy's devices, let's call it, and time frames. So we're looking for a more natural opportunity.
Oh my, it's heartbreaking hearing her. Randy, let me go to you on the time frame, please, because I, for one, and our wonderful viewers at home know I've been in the camp that I thought she should have been indicted years ago. I'm waiting. I feel like it could be any day now. So if she's rushing to family court, if she is rushing to get these kids adopted by her current boyfriend, Randy, would the court do it quickly?
I don't think so. I mean, the best interest of the children always applies. And what's the rush? You can still be a stepfather. And nothing against this new boyfriend, fiance, whatever it may be. It may be a benefit to the children to bring more love and family. I don't have any idea what the family's like. But the grandparents are right. The hard part is having a court impose a relationship, having the court order that grandparents can visit is never a good thing. And, we always have this tension, which is, grandparents are typically smarter or older, or wiser, wealthier. So why wouldn't we let all grandparents intervene in their children's divorce or in their children's custody issues? And then it becomes a mess. This new law has got to be for unique situations like this. But to answer your question, the adoption court, I hope, would say, let's slow down, or maybe let's go to mediation and find a way where if grandparents are going to be involved and stay involved in their grandchildren's lives, then we have less of a problem with the adoption. If the adoption is to seclude the children from their grandparents, it could take some time, and the judge could impose some social engineering and try to keep this family somewhat together, given all the circumstances.
Really helpful insight you're sharing with us, Randy. John Phillips, let me talk to you a little bit about Wendy and her situation in Florida, where you are licensed to practice. Has she called you yet? And a lot of truth is said in jest. I'm serious. Let's look at her right now. If you're her, if you're Wendy, what should she be doing, knowing that the state's got eyes on her?
I wish I could pan out and hide under my desk where you could see. That's probably what she needs to be doing. I just messed up my ever-growing hair. It's tough right now. You lay low, you stay out of the news, you do all the right things, you hang out with your billionaire lifestyle, I guess. What you don't do is stir this up, continue the subtraction by addition, here. When the Markels just want the voice of their father through them, and I'm kind of with you. I feel like something else is coming down the pipeline.
Mm-hmm. Right. And, and perhaps if it was a different DA's office, they may have done things differently. You know, it's not an exact science. You brilliant attorneys, John and Randy, you know, every jurisdiction's different. Trial advocacy is an art. Prosecutors are going to have differing opinions. So perhaps in this jurisdiction, they're doing things kind of the safe way, incrementally, but maybe a more aggressive office would have indicted all of them at once. We've got to leave it there for now and let you gentlemen get off to court. You've got cases to win. Randy Kessler, John Phillips, thank you both so much for the great discussion. And thank you at home for being with us on this Thursday morning. Coming up next.
I woke up and I was like half asleep and I thought I saw like a firework or something. Like it just sparkled like under my door. And I thought I heard like something kind of fall and then Murphy barked, but I thought people were just making like food, like, and Ethan was here or something and knocked something over because he's usually loud in the kitchen.
In a newly released police interview, one of the surviving housemates from the Idaho student murders is sharing what happened on that horrific night. Plus, we're being a voice for victims this morning for the Ukrainian refugee who was stabbed to death on that commuter train in Charlotte. An expert weighs in on reading the signs of danger. 8.5 months pregnant, a young mother found brutally murdered.
To lose a child, there's no words for it.
Now the victim's boyfriend, a married father of 4, is
charged for the murder of his alleged mistress and her unborn child.
That's one of the things that struck me. He was not remorseful.
From the first gavel to the final verdict, Court TV takes you inside the South Florida courtroom
for this tragic death penalty case.
The pregnant mistress murder trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
I will call you what you are. Sociopath, psychopath, murderer.
You are so beyond human. You're definitely a demon from hell.
He is a hollow vessel, something less than human.
You're nothing. May you continue to live your life in misery.
That was some of Bryan Kohberger's sentencing, and now some new photos are surfacing of Kohberger after the murders. He's seen shirtless and mugging for the camera in these newly released pictures. A wound is visible on his left hand. We zoomed in there so you can see it on his knuckle there. It's unclear if he sustained that injury during the murders. Don't know. But investigators do know that he likes to take selfies, apparently. They found a number of shirtless selfies on his phone. I think he appears to be flexing here. That's the common theme for him. How disgusting. So we're asking our power panel this morning, what was this killer thinking with these selfies? Was he admiring himself? Was he impressed with himself? Let's bring in high-profile criminal defense attorney Michael J. Brown and criminology expert, author, and professor at St. Thomas University, Dr. Debbie Goodman. Dr. Debbie, let me start with you. Was this sicko admiring himself in the mirror?
Absolutely, Julie. It is so disgusting. You're 100% correct. I think he was gloating. The words to describe for me about him would be hedonistic. He's deriving pleasure, and unfortunately, he was proud of what he did. And I think this photo also represents a purpose for him. What is the purpose? To remember what he did, and I think to crystallize a moment in time where he went from potentially a student in a PhD program to now one of our most infamous, vile, horrendous mass murderers. So it's one of these images where we just need to look away. He's a failure, he's a loser, and he will live the rest of his life in this incarcerated environment thinking about what he did every day.
You're so right, Dr. Debbie. You said something I find so fascinating, how you said he's marking this moment in time. Take us a step further. For a killer like him, what does that mean to him to be marking the moment?
Right. It's an outstanding moment for him, especially somebody at the time, 28 years old. Again, we've talked about his failures, both personally, not having a friend or any type of confidant, let alone an intimate party. And then he was failing, of course, as we know, in the professional world, as what he was at the time, a teaching, training assistant, a graduate assistant. But that's what they do, Julie. These individuals who we discuss as serial murderers, mass murderers, moments in time become very, very significant for them. He will hold on to that moment for a lifetime, unfortunately, because he did get what he wanted. He got the attention. He thinks some type of fame. We'll never call him that, but he is an infamous, vile, just repulsive individual that, unfortunately, we know his name.
You're so right. Preach everything you just said, Dr. Debbie. Thank you. Michael J. Brown, same question to you. What was this animal thinking?
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Debbie. I'm not an expert in that field, Julie, but I think this is his posing with the trophy. You know, this is when you win a Super Bowl, you have the trophy, and you're posing because you just accomplished something tremendous in your mind. In this individual's sick, deranged mind, he accomplished a tremendous achievement, and he's posing afterwards. But there's something very important about that photo, I think, from a defense standpoint, Julie, because, you know, it would have been very useful, that photograph, for the defense if they had gone to trial, because it's of his upper body, it's of his face. The only injury that you see is this minuscule injury on the knuckles, which you actually had to focus on and do a real close-up. And I think that would have went a long way in the trial, because you would expect some wounds on him if he was in fact involved. We know he's the admitted killer, so that's not the issue. But if this went to trial, I think the defense would have used this photograph to their advantage.
Michael, that's an excellent point. It really is, because these photos weren't released until now because they're case evidence, and that's why they were sealed off. And now we're seeing these things released in dribbles with respect to the case. So that's an excellent point. One may have thought, you know, perhaps even if it wasn't a cut, perhaps a bruise, a scratch, maybe something, you know, who knows? But that's a great point as we zoom in on that little teeny mark on his knuckle. Just disgusting. And one last question for you, please, Dr. Debbie. The flexing, with him flexing, you know, we know this is just after he murdered, you know, 4 unsuspecting people in their sleep. I mean, what kind of a flex is that? Does this guy feel proud from attacking people who, you know, were in their sleep in the middle of the night and couldn't defend themselves?
Yes, Julie, as horrendous as it sounds, I believe that's exactly what we are seeing here. He did feel proud. I think he derived pleasure, hence how we describe him as a hedonistic killer, deriving pleasure from the vile act itself. And then I think that picture with the purpose so that he'll always remember. And the other clip that you had on, I just wanted to comment about the gesture of a salute. Again, how astonishing that this individual is saluting himself. It's unbelievable to me, because we know those who are deserving of the salute gesture, and especially on a day of today, you know, of course, the anniversary of the 9/11 tragedies 24 years ago, but who do we salute in our country? Our men and women of military service, of law enforcement, our first responders who are so brave and courageous. And I'm absolutely disgusted, Julie, to see this picture, and he's giving himself this salute of acknowledgement.
Yes, Dr. Debbie, thank you for the mention of 9/11. It's a heavy day today, always, and our thoughts and prayers to all of those victims, and our thanks to those first responders. We have another facet to the Idaho student murders case we want to ask you questions about this morning, Michael and Dr. Debbie, and this is relating to surviving housemate Bethany Funk's interview with police that's just been made public. We haven't seen a lot of her, but here she is. This is a picture taken from her Facebook profile, and here's a clip of what she told police about the night of the homicides.
I just went to bed, and then I woke up and I was like half asleep, and I just thought I saw like a firework or something. like it just sparkled like under my door. And then I thought I heard like something kind of crawl, and then Murphy barked, but I thought people were just making like food, like, and Ethan was here or something and knocked something over because he's usually loud in the kitchen upstairs.
So, hear the firework, kind of see a spark underneath the door, Murphy barks. What did you hear after that?
Pretty much nothing.
Nothing?
That's it.
Okay. And you thought maybe someone was just in the kitchen at that point?
Yeah, just like someone accidentally fell into the table or something.
Okay.
And she was like, with Wendy.
Do you know about what time that might have been? Do you have any idea?
4 or something. I tried to call all the at like 4:20ish around that time, and no one was answering. I thought they just went to bed or something.
And later in the 28-minute video, Funk goes on to describe the time roughly right before the killings when Kaylee Gonsalves was alone outside, took her dog out one night and said she saw a shadowy figure before her. But Funk says she didn't recall anybody complaining about somebody stalking them. So this was an event prior to the stabbings that just kind of came and went. But of course, you look back and hindsight is always 20/20. So will Bethany Funk's interview or any nuggets from it help police determine a motive? Michael J. Brown, what do you think about that?
I don't think so, Julie. I don't know if there's anything that's going to come of this other than this young lady was traumatized, and it's horrible to listen and go through her 25 or so minute interview. But what's interesting from a legal standpoint is her testimony in her interview actually counters my argument that was made earlier, because there is no loud noise and yelling and screaming and struggle, which enabled her to sleep through this for the most part. And that's important because it kind of shows that they weren't defending themselves. They didn't have that ability. They probably were sleeping, and hence the lack of any physical injuries to Kohberger himself. So I think she actually would be an important witness, if not for anything else, but to eliminate that argument that, hey, he's not the guy because there's no injuries on him.
Really sharp points, Michael. Thank you. Dr. Debbie, same question to you. Any insight you think we can glean into the motive here?
Well, I think, Julie, I would agree with Michael. Most likely not from Bethany nor from Dylan, but we've discussed potentially what we think with jealousy, anger, revenge. What Dylan and Bethany really both bring to the table, of course, is just the enormity of the victimization. Of course, we will always remember, respect, the victims, Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan, Zaina, but we also have to recognize that even though they survived, Bethany and Dylan are still traumatized victims, and we continue to hope and pray for their healing and their health.
Yes, we'll leave it there for now. Great discussion with you both. Dr. Debbie, we've got to let you get off to class. Thank you for everything this morning. Michael's coming with us. Please do the same at home. Up next, the video that has everybody talking. We're breaking down the fatal train stabbing in North Carolina. Our guests discuss the dangers and the dangerous demeanor that we should be aware of. And the manhunt ongoing right now for Charlie Kirk's killer. The latest developments from his assassination. Welcome back. This morning, we're giving a voice to victims and remembering Irina Zarutska. The 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee came to America with her mom, her sister, and her brother to escape the war. Irina was brutally stabbed to death on a Charlotte area transit system light rail train. And we want to warn you, the footage you're about to see may be disturbing, but you will not see the actual stabbing. Irina enters the train. She then goes and she takes her seat. The man in the red hoodie is the suspect. After a seemingly uneventful ride, about 4.5 minutes pass by, and then you see him suddenly get up. And what we're going to do is we're going to freeze the video right before Irina is stabbed to death. Police say that this perp struck her 3 times. 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown Jr. is the man in custody for this crime. He's charged with first-degree murder. Here to discuss jury consultant and human behavior expert. Susan Constantine is with us, and retired police lieutenant Mike Gould. Good morning to you both. Susan, little known fact about you. You're a licensed trainer in something called dangerous demeanor and threat assessment. And so when you look at this video, tell us what you see, please.
Well, the first thing that I see is that when she walks in, the lack of situational awareness that she has in front of her. She scans slightly in the front, but then she takes her seat. The person behind him, the one in the red, of course, the stabber, he is different from anybody else on that bus or wherever it is they are. That's what we call an anomaly. What we're seeing here is that when we see she doesn't scan, she just sits down, she is a soft target for him. He is positioned there purposefully for somebody to take a seat right in front of him. When you're looking at his behavior, there are behavioral signatures that we look at. First of all, that he is trying to appear inconspicuous. He is camouflaging his appearance. Look at everybody else. He's the only one with a hoodie. When she came into the room, what I would recommend, or especially for women and men, is that you scan around you and have situational awareness and don't sit in front of someone like that. You sit behind them or move somewhere else. So when we see his body language, there's things that we're looking at. First of all, he is concealing his face. We're seeing that. He's turning his head away, but we see this movement in his body. You'll see his hands doing this. That is contemplation. He's considering, he's contemplating, he's rubbing his head, it's still a form of concealing, manipulators. He's thinking right now, he's got voices in his head that's saying, attacker, attacker, and then there's part of he actually shakes his head no. So as he's got this incongruency between what he's thinking, there's two voices he's hearing, his voice and the evil voice. And the evil voice is saying, stab her, she's the soft target. Plus, she's the only Caucasian on that entire, in that location. So she stood out. So there's multiple things that I saw that was going on in here because it was melting into the background. His movements and his body language was suspicious. This is an anomaly. When something doesn't look right, it's not right. And that is about as simple as it gets. Stay away from anyone that looks suspicious. And if it's judgment, let it be. On top of, look at all the tattoos. Everything that he has lived in his life is all presented right here. It's a billboard. So there's multiple indicators of what we call dangerous demeanor, a pre-attack.
Susan, fascinating insight. Thank you. Lieutenant Gould, what's your insight from a law enforcement perspective? You patrolled the streets of New York City, a massive transit system there, as we all know. Tell us what you see as you assess this video, please.
Well, I agree with Susan 100%. Situational awareness for all of us, not just the police, everyone. We all have seen this person somewhere, whether it's the streets of Atlanta, streets of New York City. The transit system is a magnet for the homeless and mentally ill. Why? Because it's cool in the summer and warm in the winter. So it's a magnet. And now we're trapped in there, similar to the Daniel Penny case. So if you, as Susan said, this woman walks on, sadly, she has her earphones on, everybody's texting, nobody's looking around. When I get on a train, I situate myself where my peripheral vision can see everything. And including, like Susan said, this is an anomaly. It should stand out like a sore thumb. But if you look at the video, everybody's on their phones. Nobody has any sense of situational awareness. So I would have been either on the back of that train car or standing up. I'd rather stand for the 10-minute ride, even though there's seats available. So everybody's kind of oblivious to their surroundings, and they have tunnel vision. They're not using their peripheral vision to scan the possible dangers and anomalies.
Right. Lieutenant, thank you for that. I was hoping you would touch on this because I think if we can do anything, we can try to learn, help ourselves. I mean, there's nothing we can say or do to bring this beautiful young lady back. This is awful, shouldn't have happened, period, end of story, but it did. So as I continue to watch that video, and I watched it several times, and you see other passengers noticing about him having the knife. You hear one guy say he's got a knife, and you see one guy kind of moving away from him. Let's say, should any of us find ourselves, God forbid, Lieutenant, in a situation where there's someone with a weapon that's visible on one of these train cars, what do you recommend we do?
Well, because there's no police presence there. Back in the days when crime in New York City was out of control, that's when the New York City Police Transit started deploying uniformed police with canines in the subway system, and it had a tremendous deterrent effect. So number one, you got to get out of there. You know, you're like a trapped sardine, unfortunately, because you're in this train car. This aluminum can, so you got to get back, start backing away, because it's not somebody that I think anybody should physically confront. They should have obviously provided first aid immediately. That's the sad part to this. She might have survived this. I'm assuming the injury was to a carotid artery or a jugular vein. So there's not much you can do except get yourself in a place that you can easily. I'd be standing right by the doors. To this day, if you see me on a subway platform, my back is against the stanchions, and I can scan the entire platform or the entire train. So it's a sad day, but it's just another sad day. You know, this is going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen. It was only last year that in New York City subway, people were being set on fire and pushed in front of the train. Now the National Guard, as controversial as that is, they're deployed in Penn Station, armed National Guardsmen. And I'll tell you what, that's a relief for me. When I walk through Penn Station and I see them, I'm relieved that they're there, and crime has gone down because of their visual omnipresence, their uniform presence.
Really helpful insight, Lieutenant. Susan, back to you. Tell me, in any situation we find ourselves in, what are some things us lay people who aren't experts in dangerous demeanor assessment, what can we do to try to spot somebody on the street who may be trying to do us harm?
I'm going to recommend a book for everybody, and he's been on your show before. It's a new superpower for women, but men can use it too. It talks about what zones you should stay in when you're getting in and out of your car, in and out of a transit system, and contact me for iAlert or alert training and for scans training so that I can teach you, because I literally just came from a 2-hour meeting at my church regarding putting on an entire training program for churches in our area. So please contact me so that we can help you and educate you and train you and get you aware of, because right now, and I'm sure my colleague will agree, there is nowhere where it's safe.
So true. That is sad, but very true. A great discussion with you both. We'll leave it here for now. Susan, Constantine, thank you kindly. Lieutenant Gould, stand by, please, for more questions on another case. As we head to break, we want to remember the victim in this senseless tragedy. 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee Irina Zarutska was hoping to build a new life for herself here in America. She had a love for the arts, for animals, and for learning. Our thoughts and our prayers go out to her family as they grieve this irreplaceable loss. We'll be right back.
Wendy Adelson, welcome to Closing Arguments.
What's happening here?
It's unreal. Let me show you exactly what happened.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Adelson, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Saturday nights on ION is our night. Let's go! Double headers every Saturday at 7 and 10 p.m. Eastern. The new Saturday Night Out is on ION all season long.
The manhunt continues this morning for the person who assassinated conservative political activist Charlie Kirk. The incident happening at a rally on a college campus in Utah. Kirk was answering questions about gun violence when it occurred. Here's the moment right before the shooting, and we have stopped the video right before the shot is fired.
In America over the last 10 years. Counting or not counting gang violence. Great.
So where did that shot come from? Well, this video was posted on X by Nick Sorter. It appears to show someone on the roof of a building located near the courtyard where Kirk was speaking. 2 people were taken into custody shortly after the shooting, and they have both been released. So at this time, no arrests have been made. Let's bring back in retired NYPD Lieutenant Mike Gould and attorney Michael J. Brown to talk about what it's going to take to find this shooter. Lieutenant, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, good morning again, Julie. You know, we're supposed to be celebrating the 3,000 people that died at 9/11. Instead, we're faced with another case of political violence that has permeated our society since, frankly, Lincoln was shot in 1865. So when I look at this, I'm disgusted. But it's, again, it happens many times, so it's nothing new here. There's some questions I have about the police response. I'm not sure. And again, I hate to be a Monday night quarterback because I made very bad decisions in my police career, and I don't like to be judged the following day. But there was no rooftop security. There's nothing. If people were stationed there, a security guard stationed there with a set of eyes, maybe would have prevented this. But it's not there. And if it's true that there's 6 police officers for a crowd of 3,000 people, I hope that statistic or that fact is wrong. There'd be more for a football game than it is for a political event like this. So there was a couple of failures here, I think, and sadly, this is what we ended up with.
Lieutenant, we want to hear more. The lack of coverage on the roofs of the buildings, what else do you see as something that possibly allowed for this type of thing to occur?
Right, so that's the main thing, because that's where there's the line of fire is on rooftops. My first job as a rookie NYPD cop, not knowing anything, was standing on the rooftop at Kennedy Airport when President Carter visited, because that is omnipresence. There's a physical presence. Now we have drones. So I'm not sure why drones aren't deployed. Rooftops are dangerous, because that's what gives the angle, the ability to shoot somebody there. So. Yeah, there's a lot to learn, but I don't know if we learned anything. This happened in Butler, Pennsylvania last year. It's the same scenario. There was no rooftop presence of anybody. You don't have to be a trained sniper. You just have to have a set of eyes, maybe binoculars, to be scanning this crowd. So it's very frustrating and disappointing to me, and I'm not sure. We have these conversations over and over again, but I don't know the lessons learned here.
Right, Lieutenant. The governor of Utah had a message for the gunman. Let's listen.
But I want to make it crystal clear right now to whoever did this, we will find you. We will try you. And we will hold you accountable to the furthest extent of the law. And I just want to remind people that we still have the death penalty here in the state of Utah.
Michael J. Brown, hearkening upon your experience as a prosecutor, help us with what may be going on behind the scenes right now with the prosecutors and their preparation for once the perp is caught.
Yeah, strong words by the governor, Julian, rightfully so. You know, they have the death penalty in Utah. And what I think we're going to see here is a coordination of efforts. It's a political assassination, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on. So I think you're going to see a concerted effort between the federal authorities, the state authorities, and the local authorities. And I think they're going to use every resource available. And there's a lot out there. You have to remember, these are kids for the most part. When I say kids, they're 18 to 30, and they all have their cell phones. So they record themselves coming in, going out, and everything in between. So they will find this person. They're going to have surveillance videos throughout campus. And I believe they will find the individual, and then they can obviously track that person and look at his postings and look at what was said online and media and put it all together to present a case where they can present before a jury and hopefully get a conviction.
Exactly. We've got to leave it there for now. We'll report any developments if the shooter is captured. We'll bring it to you live here on Court TV. Michael J. Brown, Lieutenant Mike Gould, thank you both so much. Thinking of you two today on this September 11th, being New Yorkers. Our hearts go out to you and everyone else affected by the tragedy of 9/11.